Hello, fellow human. This is day 21 of my 30-day Talk to Camera challenge. Today I'm supposed to reflect on the week. So strap in. I haven't prepared no notes. I haven't really even thought about it. I'm just going to offer some exposition. The first thing that jumps out is that my week wasn't even really a week. It's broken up into 2 weeks. And I know I committed to recording while I was on vacation, but I didn't do that. I justified it to myself. And I think what I learned from that is that even if it's to myself, I should be more cautious when making commitments. I really had the best intentions to follow through, but I should have foreseen that once I got into full relaxation mode, that I might not have the same drive as I have back here. So that's one thing I noticed, is that the week took too long, but it is what it is. We're moving forward. I think I continue to make some improvements on formulating my thoughts and articulating them. Sometimes I'll listen to a piece that I recorded and realize that I went far off track and missed a central point that probably should have been talked about. So I don't know really if there's a way to avoid that without preparing, but I also don't want to over prepare, and I'd rather be true to myself and authentic to what my mind is thinking in the moment. And maybe that's a prompt for me to just be more aware of how my mind flows when I'm thinking about an idea or talking about a feeling or an experience or a concept, something like that. What else? I am happy that this week I've been putting in the same miles as before I left on my vacation. Roughly 8 to 9 miles a day, somewhere in there. I have swapped graduated, I would say, from having a lightly packed backpack. This is the one that I'm taking with me to my Camino. And I went from having a lightly packed version of this to then going on vacation and then coming back and putting a little bit more weight into a different pack that I used, because at the same time I was preparing this backpack, made my packing list, made sure I had everything I needed, made sure it all fit. And now I've even graduated further since I've completed that to walking with this backpack again, and it's full loadout. This bag that I'm wearing right now is exactly what I'm taking on my Camino. There are a few very lightweight items that I need to pick up once I'm there, or could be situationally dependent. So 2 things I know for sure that I need to purchase when I am in Spain or in France at Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port are hiking poles. And the reason is because you can't take them in your overhead luggage. And I'm not checking this bag. It's going to get stashed in the overhead. Also, a pocket knife for, eating lunches, cutting cheese, fruits, or meats or whatever. A very lightweight pocket knife. And I know you can't travel with those either. And so those 2 items I feel are going to be necessary for me to have. And so I will need to purchase them after I travel. I do have pole tips. It's funny. that I bought my pole tips ahead of time, and the reason is because when we went to Portugal for the Portuguese Camino, I bought hiking poles from Decathlon, but they didn't have any tips, and we really had a difficult time finding them. When we did finally find tips, they were like really hard plastic. So I wanted a more rubbery tip that was a little bit bigger in preparation for buying hiking poles over there. If for some reason it turns out that I opt to not get hiking poles, then surely there will be a fellow peregrino that will be happy to have them. So no waste. And I think it's still about 17 days until I leave. So we're starting to get into a more realistic weather forecast. And I keep waffling whether I want to bring a beanie and lightweight gloves. They weigh so very little. And I suppose once I get over there, I could pop into a Decathlon and get, a very light fleece beanie and a pair of liner gloves or something like that for, a handful of euro. So again, maybe I just use it for the first week or two in the mountains of Spain, the very early spring. I can imagine that mornings will be very chilly, perhaps even evenings. And I do like a nice fleece beanie, so I'm up in the air whether I should just buy them here or buy them over there. My thought is to buy them over there so that I'm pushing my decision point of whether or not to buy to the time when I have the most accurate information available. It's not a make or break scenario, so very low risk in doing that. Also, I have the feeling that I can get them cheaper there than here. Maybe that's a misconception, but that's my thought process there. And I think that's it. That's all I need. Everything else is on my back right now, including what I'm walking in. So this is exactly the loadout that I'm going to be taking. My bag weighs just a touch under 14 pounds, but I do not have any food in it. It does include my water, but I haven't loaded up my snacks yet. So I think I'll probably be somewhere around 15 pounds, which is pretty good. It's about what I carried in Portugal, and it was comfortable for me then. One thing I noticed is that I thought I'd been ramping up very well to training with weight. And yesterday, my backpack didn't feel like a burden. It felt like a warm hug. But today, I'm feeling the weight in my knees and my feet. So I think I just need to walk it out a little bit more, just get used to it, put the reps in. The first 4 days in Portugal were pretty rough because I did a lot of walking, but I didn't prepare quite as much for the long distances and the day after day and carrying the weight. So day one wasn't so bad. Day two, you felt all of day one. Day three, you felt day one and day two. And day four was the worst because day one was just fading away. We really felt day two and three fully. And we even had a bit of a rough day there. And then after day five, I was sorted. And I was just trucking away. It was great. So what else? It strikes me that there are, including today, 9 more of these recordings, the 30-day Talk to Camera Challenge recordings. And overall, I like it. It's forced me to get out of my comfort zone, get some practice with walking, and holding the camera in front of me with my little collapsible tripod and talking. I still feel weird when I'm crossing paths with somebody, but maybe I'll never get over that, and I just need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, which is the case a lot of times in life. And I don't necessarily love all of the topics. I could have taken more liberty with swapping them out for something that I was more passionate about or that I thought might be more interesting to talk about. But the more I think about it, the more I think, just do what's presented. There's no scientific guidelines that drove this approach or anything like that, but it's a good representation of how are things going now, how did things go in the past, what's important, how do you feel about certain things. So even though it isn't the topic list I would have chosen had somebody sat me down and said, write down 30 topics that you want to talk about, one a day, I think it's probably good, because I wonder if my selection would have been more tightly associated to my interest, which makes sense. And of course, after I'm done with this 30 days and I finish what is presented to me, perhaps I think maybe that's the point, is you can talk about all these different things in different ways and still have it be you. So I thought that was just an interesting thing. I don't really know what's coming up for these last 9 days or 8 days after today. So we'll see. Other than that, feeling pretty good on my preparations. Feeling pretty good about executing this talk to camera challenge. I definitely am more comfortable than I was on day one. I would have expected to have made more progress, but maybe that's because of me or my approach, or maybe the expectation was bad. But either way, I am improving, and that's fine. And I've had very limited opportunities to do some very basic editing, but I feel like, excuse me, I feel like I've done well enough at that it's not a big issue. The goal is not to put a ton of effort into these. Again, the goal for me is to be able to capture my Camino in a way that I can remember it well and share it with others who are interested. So I don't ever anticipate there being a time where I'm spending tons and tons of effort with layers and effects and too much advanced editing, whether it's video or audio or anything like that. Just enough to get the job done. Getmo, good enough to move on. GETMO, I love that. Anyway, that's day 21. Kind of my thoughts about the weeks. It's been good. The weather's nice. I hope it continues. I hope y'all have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow for 22. Ciao.